Chapter 21 of Murder in the Gunroom. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Murder in the Gunroom by H. Beam Piper. Chapter 21. In the month which followed, events transpired through a thickening miasma of rumors, official communiques, journalistic conjectures, and outright fabrications, fitfully lit by the glare of newsmen's photobulbs, bulking with strange shapes and emitting stranger noises. There were the portentous rumblings of prepared statements and the hollow thumps of denials. There were soft murmurs of, "Now this is strictly off the record," followed by sibilant whispers. The unseen screws of political pressure creaked and whitewash brushes slurped suavely. And there was an insistent yammering of bewildered and unanswered questions. Fred Dunmore really had killed Arnold Rivers, hadn't he? Or had he? Arnold Rivers had been double-crossing Dunmore. Or had Dunmore been double-crossing Rivers? Somebody had stolen or was it $25,000 worth of old pistols? Or was it just $25,000? Or what, if anything, had been stolen? Was somebody being framed for something? Or was somebody covering up for somebody? Or what? And wasn't there something funny about the way Lane Fleming got killed last December? The surviving members of the Fleming family issued a few non-committal statements through their attorney, Humphrey Goode, and then the Iron Curtain slammed down. Mick McKenna gave an outraged squawk or so, then subsided. There was a series of pronunciamentos from the office of District Attorney Charles P. Farnsworth, all full of high-order abstractions and empty of meaning. The reporters converging on the Fleming house found it occupied by the state police, who kept them at bay. Harry Bentz of the New Belfast Evening Mercury, using a .30 power spotting scope from the road, observed Dave Ritter, whom he recognized, wearing a suit of butler's livery and standing in the doorway of the garage, talking to Sergeant McKenna, Carter Tipton, and Farnsworth. The Mercury exploited this scoop for all it was worth. On the whole, the Rosemont bayonet murder was, from a journalistic standpoint, an almost complete bust. There had been no arrest, no hearing, no protracted trial, no sensational revelations. Only one monolithic fact, officially attested and indisputable, loomed out of the murk. And the said Frederick Parker Dunmore, deceased, did receive the aforesaid gunshot wounds, hereinbefore enumerated, at the hands of the said Jefferson Davis Rand, and at the hands of the said David Abercrombie Ritter. And the said Jefferson Davis Rand and the said David Abercrombie Ritter, being in mortal fear for their several lives, did so act in defense of their several persons. And finally, the said Frederick Parker Dunmore did die. The Evening Mercury, which sheet the said Jefferson Davis Rand had once cost the loss of an expensive libel suit and exposed in certain journalistic malpractices verging upon blackmail, promptly burst into print with an indignant editorial entitled "Trial by Pistol." The terms legalized slaughter and flagrant whitewash were used, and mention was made of the well-known preference of a certain notorious private detective for the procedure of habeas cadaver. The principal result of this outcry was to persuade an important New Belfast manufacturer, who had hitherto resisted Rand's sales pressure, to contract with the Tri-State Agency for the protection of his payroll deliveries. Then, at the other end of the state, the professor of moral science at a small theological seminary caught his wife in flagrante delicto with one of the fourth-year students, and opened fire upon them at a range of 10 feet, with a 12-gauge pump gun. The Rosemont bayonet murder, already pretty well withered on the vine, passed quietly into limbo. Summer, almost a month before its official opening, was already a fait accompli. The trees were in full leaf and invaded by nesting birds. The air was fragrant with flower scents, and the mercury column of the thermometer was stretching itself up toward the 90 mark. They were all outside, where the long shadow of the Fleming house fell across the lawn and driveway, gathered about the 5 parked cars. The new Fleming butler, a short and somewhat globular Negro with a gingerbread crust complexion, and an air of affable dignity, was helping Pierre Jarrett and Karen Lawrence put a couple of cartons and a tall peach basket into Pierre's Plymouth. Colin MacBride, a streamer of pipe smoke floating back over his shoulder, was peering into his luggage compartment to check the stowage of his own cargo, while his 12-year-old son, Malcolm, another black Highlander like his father, was helping Philip Cabot carry a big laundry hamper full of newspaper-wrapped pistols to his Cadillac. Pierre's mother and the stylish, stout Mrs. Trehearne and Gladys Fleming, obviously detached from the bustle of pre-departure preparations, were standing to one side, talking. And Rand had finished helping Adam Trehearne pack the last container of his share of the Fleming collection into his car. "I see Colin's about ready to leave, and I'm in his way," Trehearne said. He extended his hand to Rand. "No need hashing over how we all feel about this. If it hadn't been for you, that offer of Kendall's would have had us stopped as dead as Rivers had. $500 deader, in fact." Stephen Gresham, carrying a package-filled orange crate, joined him, setting down his burden. His wife and daughter, with another crate between them, halted beside him. "Haven't you got your stuff packed yet, Jeff?" Gresham asked.
"Jeff's been helping everybody else," Irene Gresham burst out. "Come on, everybody, let's go help Jeff pack. You're going to have dinner with us, aren't you, Jeff?"
"Oh, sorry. I have some more details to clear up. I'm having dinner here, with Mrs. Fleming," Rand regretted. "I'll pack my stuff later." Mrs. Jarrett, Mrs. Trehearne, and Gladys came over. One by one, the rest of the group converged upon them. Then, when the goodbyes had been said and the promises to meet again had been given, they parted. One by one, the cars moved slowly down the driveway to the road. Only Gladys and Rand, standing at the foot of the front steps, and the gingerbread-brown butler were left. My, that was some party," the Negro chuckled, gathering up 3 empty pasteboard cartons and telescoping them together. "Dinner'll be ready in about half an hour, Mrs. Fleming. Shall I go mix the cocktails now?"
"Yes, do that, Reuben. In the drawing room."
She watched the servant carry the discarded containers around the house, then turned to Rand.
"You know, not the least of your capabilities is your knack of finding servant replacements on short notice," she told him.
"My general factotum, Buck Pendexter, is a prominent personage in New Belfast Colored Lodge circles," Rand said. "When your cook and maid quit on you the day of the blow-up, all I had to do was phone him, and he did the rest." He got out his cigarettes, offered them, and snapped his lighter. "I notice you're having cocktails in the drawing room now."
"Yes, I suppose in time I'll stop imagining I see Fred Dunmore's blood on the library floor. I got used to what had happened in the gunroom last December. Shall we go in?" she asked, taking Rand's arm.
The cocktails were waiting when they entered the drawing room off the dining room. The butler poured for them and put the glasses and the shaker on a low table by a lounge. "I'm afraid dinner's going to be a little later than I said, Mrs. Fleming," he apologized. "Things were kind of stirred up today, with all those people here."
"That's all right, we can wait," she replied. "We won't need anything more, Reuben."
Motioning Rand down on the lounge beside her, she handed him a glass and lifted her own.
"Now," she began, "just what sort of skullduggery has been going on? As of Friday, the top offer for the collection was $25,500, from some dealer up in Massachusetts. And then, on Saturday, you came bounding in with Stephen Gresham's certified check for $26,000. And I seem to recall that the late unlamented Rivers offer of $25,000 straight had them stopped. Not that I'm inclined to look askance at an extra $500. I could buy a new hat with my share of that, even after taxes. But I would like to know what happened, and I might add that's only one of many things I'd like to know."
"The client is entitled to a full report," Rand said, tasting his cocktail. It was a vodka martini, and very good. "You know, none of that crowd are millionaires. Adam Trehearne, who's the plutocrat of the bunch, isn't so filthy rich he doesn't know what to do with all his money, what the tax collectors leave of it, and the rest of them have to figure pretty closely. The most